Minority view, again, which is important, that you cannot treat brand building or brand promotion as synonymous with advertisement expenditure. And I think that's a very welcome position, because all this is qualitative. You need to appreciate that brand is not built just by advertising. It's a question of quality, it's a question of service, it's a question of product acceptability, which has been endorsed by the High Court. I think we are very pleased with the way they have brought out this qualitative difference between brand promotion and advertising and marketing expenditure.
Mukesh bhai, you're surprised, or not maybe surprised, the judgment has been reserved for over 4-5 months, and elaborate arguments over a few months that took place before that, but extremely detailed, and one of those rare transfer pricing judgments from a High Court which has gone into such minute detail. Mukesh bhai.
I'm not surprised that the judgment was reserved for all these months, primarily because if you look at how the pleadings went in the month of September, October and even part of November, I think both the department and the group of taxpayers had submitted fairly elaborate arguments. And these arguments were not necessarily an interpretation of the Indian law or Chapter 10. These arguments entailed the Australian regulation, the US regulation, and more importantly, even if you look at internationally, there is no jurisprudence. Most of the cases on marketing intangibles have been settled out of court. So if you look at the GSK decision, that was settled out of the court.
You think this decision would also be of use in international jurisprudence?
Well, no doubt about it.
Everyone is
Certainly.
No doubt about it.
This is, I think, there is no other international judgment of this kind.
All countries will look at Indian jurisprudence in this respect.
I'm sure all the three of them are going to pick this in the top 5 judgments of the year for our book.
Certainly.
No, I think this certainly will be looked at by rest of the world, because it's a fairly balanced decision. On the first question, whereas taxpayers may be disappointed that they would have expected an outcome where the High Court
And
would have...
settled it once and for all.
Yeah, the High Court could have just simply interpreted Chapter 10 and...
So you'll go to Supreme Court on that?
well, that's for the litigant to decide, not me.
But Mukesh bhai, one point before I move to Ajay ji, you think all the detailed broad principles laid down for the comparability analysis and on the other issues, you think that would lead again to an element of subjectivity and a lot of hair splitting at the field level?
My recommendation would be for that if the Department of Revenue accepts this decision or major parts of the decision, is to lay down through a circular a guidance to officer, because no matter how well a judgment is written, because as you rightly picked it up in the court, everything is fact driven. So you may have an officer wanting to distinguish the facts from the facts in LG and other cases.
Ajay ji, the last words said by Justice Sanjeev Khanna before he rose.
Right.
He said that the judgment is not a finding which should be seen as a talismanic precision to complex facts. I think that those are very sobering words
you
said.
See, this fits in with the entire scheme of transfer pricing. It is not an exact science. There is some element of subjectivity, but you need to apply all the parameters in an extremely objective manner to arrive at the correct result, not the accurate result, not the precise result. So that is how he also advocated the safe harbor, that there must be a safe harbor advocated and brought out by the government in order to make sure that you don't have unnecessary litigation on transfer pricing.
DC sir?
Certainly, I fully agree with Mr. Vohra that what judgment really means is they are seeking to reduce litigation, and this, as Mukesh has just said, that if the government were to issue guidelines and lay down what kind of information taxpayer is to provide, and what kind of details or
I
information.
think that would be the best justice that could be done to this judgment.
To this judgment. And if that can be laid down in broader terms, yes. It's a question of taxpayers coming out with a lot of information that they are not doing at present, and department doing its job in a select of cases.
Final word to Neeraj ji. Quick one-line word, Neeraj ji. Happy?
Yeah, I'm happy otherwise, but I would still like to read the judgment and see the reasoning of the court as to how he is calling an expenditure incurred by a business, independent enterprise, as an international transaction resulting in a service to the associated entity.
What I like about this gentleman is that he's got a spirit never to give up. Keep it up.
Ajay ji, that's a hint that Neeraj ji is not going to let you, relax today. You're going to the Supreme Court on that point,
I think,
Ajay ji.
Arun, much will depend on what stand the department is to take. Now,
Yeah.
normally the SLP has to be filed within 90 days.
Yeah.
And I don't expect the department to stick to the timeline. They may take time to ultimately take a decision whether or not to go. The assessee, in order to comply with this deadline of 90 days, will willy-nilly have to file a SLP to the Supreme
GC sir, yes or no answer. Will you recommend filing an SLP?
Let me read the full text of the.
Oh, Mukesh bhai, Ajay ji and GC sir, thanks so much for this, for your time. Really appreciate. They are just out of the courtroom, and what a judgment, what a path-breaking judgment from the Delhi High Court bench of Justice Sanjeev Khanna and Justice Kameshwar Rao. This judgment is going to find itself in every book that is written on transfer pricing this year. Surely among the top 5 judgments of the year, for sure. Back to you.